This is the story of a man blessed with unimaginable strength, a warrior chosen by God to save his people. But in the end, his greatest enemy was not the Philistines, it was himself. What happens when the mightiest man alive is defeated, not by an army, but by his own weakness? Stay with us as we uncover the rise and fall of Samson, the strongest man who lost it all. Welcome to Bible Breakdown, where we bring the most powerful Bible stories to life through cinematic storytelling. If you love deep biblical insights, be sure to subscribe, like, and share for more. The birth and background of Samson. Samson's story begins in a time of oppression. The Israelites were suffering under the brutal rule of the Philistines, a powerful enemy that dominated them for 40 years. Judges 13:1. But God, in his mercy, had a plan, one that started with a miraculous birth. An angel of the Lord appeared to a barren woman, the wife of Manoah from the tribe of Dan. He declared, "You shall conceive and bear a son. No razor shall come upon his head, for the child shall be a Nazirite to God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines." Judges 13:5. A Nazirite vow. Samson was set apart for God. His vow meant three things. He could not drink wine or strong drink. He could not touch anything dead. His hair could never be cut, the secret to his strength. Samson wasn't just any man. He was born with a divine purpose, to be a deliverer for Israel. But what happens when someone chosen by God allows pride, temptation, and weakness to destroy their destiny? Samson's strength and victories. From a young age, Samson's supernatural strength became clear. The Spirit of the Lord would come upon him, and he could do the impossible. Some of his most legendary feats include: 1. Killing a lion with his bare hands, Judges 14:5-6. A young lion attacked him, but Samson tore it apart as if it were nothing. 2. Slaughtering 1,000 Philistines with a donkey's jawbone, Judges 15:15. Armed with nothing but a bone, Samson single-handedly defeated an entire army. 3. Carrying away the gates of Gaza, Judges 16:3. He ripped off the city's massive gates and carried them up a hill, humiliating his enemies. Samson was unstoppable as long as he obeyed God, but his weakness was about to be exposed. The fall, Samson's greatest weakness. Despite his divine calling, Samson had a fatal flaw: his desire for Philistine women. Time and time again, he fell into relationships with those who did not serve God. And then came Delilah, the woman who would bring him to ruin. The Philistines bribed Delilah to discover the secret of Samson's strength. She pressed him daily, pleading for the truth. 3 times he deceived her, but on the 4th attempt he broke. "No razor has ever touched my head, because I have been a Nazirite from birth. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man." Judges 16:17. That night while Samson slept, Delilah shaved his hair. When he awoke, he assumed he still had his power, but the Lord had departed from him. Judges 16:20. His consequence: captured by the Philistines, eyes gouged out, imprisoned and forced to grind grain like a slave. The strongest man in history was now blind, weak and humiliated. He had lost it all, not because of the Philistines, but because he let sin take control. Samson's redemption, the final act. But even in Samson's darkest moment, God wasn't done with him. As he sat in prison, his hair began to grow back, Judges 16:22, and with it, his faith in God was restored. One day, the Philistines held a massive festival to celebrate Samson's downfall. They brought him into the temple of their god, Dagon, to mock him, but Samson had one last prayer: "Sovereign Lord, remember me, please. God, strengthen me just once more, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Judges 16:28. Guided to the temple pillars, Samson pushed with all his might. The building collapsed, killing more Philistines in his death than he had in his life. Samson died a warrior, fulfilling his destiny, but at a great cost. Lessons from Samson's life. What can we learn from the strongest man who lost it all? Obedience is greater than strength. Samson's power came from God, not himself. Without obedience, he was nothing. Sin always has consequences. Giving in to temptation may feel good in the moment, but it leads to destruction. God is merciful, even after Samson's failure. God still heard his final prayer and gave him one last victory. Modern-day application. Just like Samson, God has given you a purpose. You may not have supernatural strength, but you have gifts, talents, and a calling. But be careful. Your greatest weakness can be the enemy's biggest weapon. Will you stand strong in faith, or will you fall to temptation like Samson? If you believe God can restore anyone, type "God is my strength" in the comments.